So in 2021, I had a massive spiritual awakening, and I'm going to give you all the details right now.
Let's go.
What is up, beautiful humans? This is Dr. Dave Cahotis. I am on a mission to forge strong, heart-centered, and purpose-driven men. And this podcast is here to help you stop managing your problems and start breaking free of stress, limiting beliefs, and excuses that stop you from executing at your fullest potential, living with passion, and being the man you want to be. So let's go. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. I am your host, Dr. Dave. And in today's podcast, we're going to go through my spiritual awakening. I'm actually very excited to share this with you. I know this is a long time coming. This is something that has been on my heart for a little while. I just didn't know when I wanted to lay it out and just kind of like go with all the good, the bad, the ugly, like all the crazy parts of a spiritual awakening, because it's not for the faint of heart. It is a huge transformation in your life. It's a beautiful process. It was absolutely a struggle at times. And I know if you have been feeling like the call for something more, the feeling like you have a purpose, the feeling like you're on a mission, the feeling like there's something more that you're seeking in life, then you are on the verge of a spiritual awakening. Now, I will also add, if you feel like everything is falling apart, everything is just like, I have no idea which way is up, like I can't describe anything, like what the heck is happening in my life, you're in the middle of it. Welcome to it. So in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through just the overall, like what my experience was, and then help guide you if you feel like you're going through a spiritual awakening. So enjoy today's episode. And before we get into today's episode, I just want to say thank you for being a listener. If you've found that you've gotten value out of this information, please like, please subscribe, please comment below, all the good things that you've been getting out of this. Share this episode with more people, more men that you know in your life that could get a benefit and value out of this stuff, because that's going to get this information out there more. And I really appreciate you guys for being a listener and just really supporting this channel. So thank you so much. If you are looking for something more in person, more hands-on, and you're ready to deep dive into something, definitely check out the Unbreakable Man experience. That's coming up November 1st through the 3rd here in 2024. If you're listening to that afterwards, we are going to have other programs that are going to be bigger. But this is the last, and we'll say this is the last direct into Unbreakable Man experience. So if you've been thinking about this experience and you know that you want to have that very intimate, very hands-on experience that's going to be life-changing, then this is absolutely your time. Like, stop thinking about it, start taking action, go to theunbreakableman.com and apply. And so I know you're going to get a life-changing experience out of it, whether you're looking for more clarity, more just internal command, if you are just genuinely seeking a spiritual awakening yourself. I'm not saying that that's what you're going to get, but I've had a lot of guys that have come out of that experience that have felt way more connected to themselves, to their own personal internal locus of command. And it's been a really beautiful process seeing these guys really transform. So it's one of those elements that I don't touch on a lot, but I know it's part of the Unbreakable Man. And it's really important to me that more individuals have the capacity to be a whole individual, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's something that I think I'm going to start implementing a little bit more. And just, it's been there. I just haven't been quite as vocal about it, more objectively vocal. So if you are experiencing some form of spiritual awakening, or you're thinking about stepping into something a little bit deeper for yourself, then this is absolutely the episode. If you're looking for a more hands-on approach, then definitely check out theunbreakableman.com. Go to the Unbreakable Man experience, check it out. And I really hope to see you guys there. All right, so let's dive into today's episode. I'm going to share my experience of my spiritual awakening. It's a story. It's definitely a story for sure. And just the things that came through and have been coming through for me since that moment. There was like a weekend specifically, but there was a whole kind of everything leading up. You like when you go through it and you come out the other side, you start to realize, that part happened you start to see the connection of how your life is actually evolving specifically for you. And it's like a stepstone approach so that you can become more conscious, more aware. And so let's identify, number one, what is a spiritual awakening? And I think a lot of people like have this idea that you're going to become like enlightened, like a yogi, right? Like a monk. And in a way, you become more aware of energy. You become more aware of your intuition. You become more aware of patterns, psychological patterns that yourself and others are living. You start to see certain patterns in others that are like, like that person's self-sabotaging pattern is this. And like, you start to acknowledge that there are elements. It's like, best way to describe it, it's like seeing patterns, like one of those, like those old school, that's not a Rorschach, chart. It's like one of those like, things that like, if you just like settle your eyes down and then you can all of a sudden see like the image, it's kind of like that, but from an energetic perspective. A spiritual awakening is sort of like stepping outside of your life and just sort of seeing it as it is, not as you think it is. That's usually how I describe a spiritual awakening. Now, walking through that path is not simple. Well, I should say this. It is simple. It's not easy. The simplicity is in the opportunity, or in the availability, the ability rather, to surrender. Can you surrender to the experience that you're having and just allow that experience to be as it is, not as you think it is? And when you do that, you start to heal and transmute and alchemize and start to aliven and awaken parts of yourself that you otherwise didn't know existed. A lot of people will think that if you have a spiritual awakening, you start to talk to spirits. And I laugh because it kind of is true and it kind of is not. I want to touch on that part. I definitely have become what is considered a channel, right? Like this is what does that mean? Like it's like having an internal knowing and differentiation of voices. So like if you think about when you're reading a book and you're reading this book, you have this internal dialogue that's naturally happening. This is like your reading voice, and that voice is your voice. Now, whether you know it or not, you're always having a conversation with voices in your head. Even you listening to this right now, you're acknowledging and experiencing some type of voice in your head. And maybe it's like if you see something at the store, you'll say something to yourself. And sometimes that statement could be something of judgment. Sometimes it could be positive, whatever it is. It's usually oftentimes pretty judgy. I always noticed that about myself. It was like, there was like this judgy voice. And then there's all these other sort of elements, these other voices that will sometimes come in, and they'll come in very subtly and very softly. And they'll come in a way that they're more like, they're easy and it's more positive and it's more or simplistic. And those voices are generally voices of support, of guides, of, you could call them spirits. A lot of people, after a loved one dies, they'll feel like this sense of peace kind of washes over them because they're having this spiritual connection to their loved one. And the same is true for, I've heard terms like spirit guides, angels, like name it. There's a lot of different elements that are part of this spiritual world. And you start to open yourself up to this book that is like, you're ingesting a lot more information. So the act of awakening spiritually can be very overwhelming at times, and it can be very cumbersome. But ultimately, what happens is you start to differentiate between the voices that are yours and the voices that are not yours. I'll kind of share some elements of what that's like. Let me go through how to awaken the spirit, right? When you start to ask questions like, who am I? What is all this? Right? Like you start to question things, you start to question everyone and anything in the world, and you start to really question like, what the heck is going on? you're on the path of awakening your spirit. And when you are on the path of awakening your spirit, you are claiming that there is a greater version of yourself, which for me, that's absolutely my belief. There is a greater version of myself, and that self, that the uppercase self is connected, is a direct link, a direct connection, almost like a ray of sun from the sun itself. It is a direct connection from source, that which is God, the one mind, the thing that is the creator, that never began, never ends, like the infinite knowing of all things. That my spirit is that connection. That's my belief. I don't want to say belief. I take that back. It's my knowing. I've had direct connection with it, and it's incredible. It's beyond any words I could possibly describe. I could try to describe it, but it's unlike anything I can possibly describe. It is absolute pure love, absolute pure, like just pure light, pure love, right? Like it's just pure, like so pure. I can't even describe it. It's a visceral sensation that I will always know in this lifetime, which is amazing. And to get there required a lot of work, a lot of courage, a lot of surrender, a lot of support, physically, mentally, emotionally, even financially at times, spiritually, like from everybody around me. But ultimately, it was always guiding me back to myself. And myself is that which is, right? So a spiritual awakening guides you back to who you truly are, and you recognize you are a droplet in the ocean. And what that means is like without you, the ocean doesn't exist, and you are the droplet in the ocean. You are therefore the ocean, and you are one. You are that which is God. And so all things that exist are God, and you become the known of that, right? It's like the embodiment of that. It's not even a belief anymore. You don't have to believe shit. Like, you know, like I don't fucking believe anything anymore. Like it just is. It's just like an isness. And so it's a beautiful process. It's an incredible process. To get there, there can be a lot of paths, like a lot of paths. I'm going to describe my path. You do not have to go on my path. I would absolutely recommend that you go, like you'll follow your heart to the like next step. I've seen a lot of people go on the path and they just like were meditating, and then they would have like this like incredible experience, euphoric, right? Sometimes it can happen very spontaneously, and sometimes people can die. Like literally die, and they'll have what they call near-death experiences, or NDEs. There's a lot of different like people that have done that, and then they'll have this incredible, spiritual awakening, and then they'll come back into their body, but then they'll retain that information, and then they'll be like, holy shit, and their body hasn't gone through the upload yet, or like, kind of the release process. The way that I experienced it was I was starting to feel things, and I just sort of felt this like I'm using my hand like shaking on purpose. Like if you're just listening to this, I'm like a shakiness in life, like an angst, like something was wrong, and I felt stuck, and I felt like there was something missing in my life, and I needed more meaning, more purpose, and more like I was put on this on this earth for a reason. I didn't know what it was, and I just knew that there was like something there for me. And I started to seek that which is the all, the God, right? Like the creator, source, universe, like whatever word is right. As I was on that path, I started to experience incredible panic attacks. I started to experience depression, anxiety. My mental health was anything but healthy. But again, these are things when you're on the spiritual path. It's sort of like when you start asking these questions, the universe, like King Leonidas in Sparta, and he like kicks that sentinel out, he kicks him down the well, and he says, "This is Sparta." Like, just know that like when you start to open yourself up and ask for God to enter you, like know what you're signing up for. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's a whole thing. Like it's a whole fucking thing. Like you will start to unravel your life by design. Like there is a great unraveling that happens. And why that's so vital is because everything that you created up to that point was from a place of ego, from a place of, humaning, right? Like you were looking to survive. And when you crave something greater than yourself, when you crave something outside of you, that which is great, like that which is God, everything that has come into your life will dissipate, will go away. Now, that doesn't mean, and I can share the story on, my wife as an example, and like my kids. It doesn't mean that you're going to like lose loved ones or, your health is going to deteriorate, but it could, right? But it could mean that. There were literal times in my spiritual awakening that I had to choose. I genuinely did. I had to choose, like, am I going to choose my wife or am I going to choose something completely different? And these are really important questions, because when you're on this path, it's not easy, but it's there as opportunities to initiate yourself through the pain of that and to fully let go. And the initiate, I use that word, is sort of like the initiate within your own self. You're not being initiated into any like sect or religion or, cult. It's like literally like you're just being thrown into the mix. You're being thrown into the fire. And that fire is alchemizing. It's burning off all the old patterns that no longer serve you, all the old judgments, all the ego, all the things that no longer serve you. It will burn it completely off. In 2020, as I was sort of coming out, I noticed that like I was starting to feel more etheric things. Like there was it was like December 21st, 2020. And I just remember feeling like, oh my God, there's so much energy. Like I could feel all this. And I still wasn't fully like, boop, like popped. It wasn't until June of that next year, 21, did everything completely change. But all the while, like I just knew that there was like something more for me. There was something more. So kind of backtracking, 2015, I start having panic attacks, depression, 16, 17. In 2018, I connect with a dear friend of mine, and he guided me through, and he had been doing work and sort of going on the path of becoming a shaman. And he guided me through a therapeutic dose of psilocybin. And that was very eye-opening. That was like incredibly eye-opening, because I started to see things more as they were, not as I thought they were. I experienced incredible gratitude. I experienced like what the true essence of gratitude was, because I was still like, I didn't know what that was, and I wanted to know what gratitude meant and what it felt like. I wanted to know why I was struggling so much in life. I was going through the process of feast and famine. I was just like working my ass off, but I was never getting results. I was like, what the heck is going on? And I just really wanted to know why all this stuff was happening. And so as I was going through the process, I started to experience new things. I was still meditating. I was meditating for at least 15, 20 minutes a day. If there is any one practice above all else, that I recommend for spiritual awakening, is meditation. Meditation and surrender, more specifically. So detachment, right? Detachment from the lowercase self, from the ego self, from the physical self. So meditation is the thing that will allow you to surrender yourself to something greater. It's almost like the cork, like you're holding a cork down and then it starts to float. And a lot of these terms might not make sense to you, and that's okay. It's like trying to explain something like, this is what an apple tastes like when you've never had food. And I say that with just a bit of understanding that, like, if you're on the path, like, you will have the experience. It will come. It just might be perfect in the timing for you, whenever that timing is, but it might not be right now. And just know that whatever that day is, like, it'll be perfect. Okay. All right. I'm gonna explain my moment, right? I chose plant medicine as a catalyst for me. Plant medicine is not the best for everybody. I think breath work is amazing. I think somatics, like specifically somatic breath work, it was shown to me and guided that I should facilitate somatic breath work. I call them divine downloads, like where it's like a bloop, like you're going to do this. And it's like, okay, like I'm going to do that deal. And I've never looked back, and it's like life-changing for me in a very positive way. The other thing is, as you go on your path, you'll start to get these little intuitive nudges. And I encourage you, like, I can't even say encourage, like, it's like you have to. you have to start to listen to your intuition and just play the game and even ask for signs, because you can ask for things very specifically and you can receive that information back to you in a way, like, for instance, you're like, okay, if I need to do this business deal, send me a sign so clearly that I cannot miss it, right? Whatever maybe that sign is. Maybe you can be specific. Send me a red-tailed hawk, right? And make it land in my backyard, or whatever, like send me a sign that's so clear that like I can't miss it. And you'll start to get these signs and you'll start to see that like you are the walking embodiment of spirit. Like it's like a shadow. Well, I don't want to go into that so much. Okay. I don't want to like describe what the third dimension and the spiritual dimension is, because there's like, we're all on multiple dimensions. Because I want to talk about spiritual awakening first. Then we can talk about like kind of how everything is intermixed. Okay. So in 2021, I went the plant medicine route, and I just knew ayahuasca was for me. I just knew it. I knew I needed to go in that direction, and I knew I needed to start to step in and start to open myself up to energies. And so a shaman was coming in from Mexico. He's from the Shipibo tribe in Peru, and that was his lineage. And so he had been a shaman now for 12, 15 years, something like that. And so, done thousands of ceremonies. And so I said, okay, I'm going to sign up for this experience. It was here in the United States through a church, that's how they make it legal and all that stuff. And so I go and I show up and I have this experience, and it was profound. It was incredibly profound. I asked specific questions. I got answers back. I had the prayer right before I consumed ayahuasca, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's a vine. It's a plant out of the Amazon. And then they combine it. So it has dimethyltryptophan in it. And then they combine it with the MAOI inhibitor, which is another plant. And I forget the name of the other plant, but then they combine it and they create basically like a stew. And then they cook it down, like they boil it in this water, and then they boil it down, and then they make like a thick drink, and then they heat it back up basically. And then they like mix it up, and then you drink it. Right. And when you drink it, everybody has different effects. And I'm sure you've heard of a lot of different people's experience. My experience was absolutely beautiful, absolutely profound. I was fully ready, by the way, for like the worst of the worst. I was ready to shit myself. I was ready to vomit everywhere. I was ready to just like let it all go. And in a way, like it was very close to that in many times, but she never, and I say she, because it's like ayahuasca has like this divine essence of the earth itself, of grandmother earth. And so it's like the energy of grandmother ayahuasca. And I went there with deep reverence. I bowed. I said, please, like, speak to me in my language, speak to me in the language that I understand, so that I can embody the wisdom that you carry and you bring to me. And the way she spoke to me was through movement. And so like every movement that I was moving through was information. It was all information, all of it. I was like literally just like every hand gesture, every like motion had an entire story, an entire book of knowledge within each hand gesture. And I was literally just moving energy through me, and I was like collecting information, and it was like so beautiful and so profound. So it was like opening myself up to a storybook that had been within me, but the plant medicine, the master plant, ayahuasca, it opened it up. It's like it allowed me to read again, and I was able to experience it. And with that came energies. And energies, when I say energies, I mean like being able to connect to etheric energies and vital energies and all of these incredible things that were like, wow, like this and this and this. And so I was able to have it's like going from like a foggy lens or like an out of focus lens to a very in focus lens, and being able to very differentiate between like the most subtle energies within the collective and the cosmos. And then I was able to start to experience things that on the back end of that that were whoosh, like massive. Now, within that weekend, I also started to express myself in a way that was speaking a language of the soul. So I was moving energy. And so now, like, I will literally stand in my backyard and I'm still able to have the conversation, right? I'm still able to experience it. This is where the fundamental basics of Tai Chi came from. And these ancient practices came from this wisdom of knowing that energies move through us. And so Tai Chi is a certain set of hand motions and gestures. For me, specifically, the way it comes through is very channeled. It's very like in the moment, like it's like different every single time, though some of the motions and some of the gestures kind of look the same. I call it the subtle dance. It's like this energy movement. And so I awoke myself up to be able to read and interpret this language. And then physically through my voice box was, and a lot of people call it tongues. The way I've heard it described is light language. I was able to literally start to express language that was the language of soul. The best way to describe it was language of soul. It was verbal, non-English, not any specific language that was anything like that I've ever heard before, but it was perfect. It was beautiful. It was everything that it needed to be in the moment. And I've been able to utilize that for myself. It's like a channeled language. And the best way to describe light language is again, it's a lot of religious, context. Like they speak of it like sort of like channeling tongues. But it's so beautiful. It's so light that it's like known in the moment for me as I'm channeling it, that it's like speaking from my soul or through soul to the soul of whoever is receiving it. And so it's a path, an expression that is, what's the best way to describe it? It's like seeing a picture of New York City is like English, like I'm like describing it, but there's a whole visceral experience of New York when you're there. There's sights and smells. There's like so much more information. It's like there's so much more like sights, smells, sounds, like you're just like immersed in it. And that's what light language is relative to English or any other like spoken language. Because spoken language requires that there's like structure, right? You need like a noun and a verb, like in order to create a sentence, and like you gotta be able to like put things together to create, paragraphs, etc. Light language is like code. It's a channel language through the soul to the soul, so as to vibrate at a level where the soul understands, but the individual, the ego, quote unquote, might not get it, and that's okay. And that's the point. It's sort of like art. Like, why can I look at a piece of art and be immersed and emotionally brought into a place, or listen to a piece of music and be completely taken by this piece of music, or even watch ballet or movement or dance or whatever the expression of art is? And light language is sort of like the art of language within itself, and it's just channeled. The way it sounds is, let me see if I can tune in. Okay. And as I tune in, it's always like, is this right? Is this time now? The other thing I want to mention this, as you start to awaken, and I'll get to light language, I promise. As you start to awaken, you'll start to experience things that can actually be annoying. Like one of the things is I'll get loud ringing in my ears, like on my left side and then on my right side. And it's like, listen up. Hey, listen up. Hey, listen up. It's like my guides like telling me like, listen up, do this, do this, do this. And it's like, okay, deal. Like, I'll do that. It's like, okay, I'll do that. It's like, okay. And so as I was like kind of tuning in, like, should I speak light language? They were like, yeah, Yeah, you should. So I was like, okay. Okay, let me tune in to anyone that's watching. Let me tune into you right now because we're all connected. We're all one. Satri ina trushi na kitara ina kumalere sitara mia ka ilulme siki alele me umaka aleki asitrini ki alele mi asietro mia ka alele mi ki alele sudromi kitara ti shakama alulele mi ki akakaka. So that was a message for anyone listening, for anyone watching, that you are guided, you are supported, you are held by higher consciousness, by higher source. And you don't have to understand it. You don't have to know it. Like, you don't have to understand the language to receive it. You might have felt while you were listening, like an initial, like almost like a tug. And then settling, like a, like a breath. And so that's the one thing with awakening is it's other, it's different, it's weird. You might have seen people that like have gone through this path and they were like in finance, and then all of a sudden they're like, dude, like this guy's got tattoos and, you know, he's like at Burning Man all the time. It's like, yeah, it was like, because you could be whoever you want at that point. You're not subject to the reputation you used to try to hold, and you can allow yourself to just completely let go. And so, which brings me back to like my path, right? So back to that weekend in 2021, I went through ayahuasca, and then I sat in another plant medicine called rape, which is a sacred tobacco, and that was received to me through the shaman. And you sit back and it's ingested through what's called a tepi, which is like a long sort of like, it looks like a pipe, but it's not. It's like a long tube, and it's like a very fine tobacco with herb. And then the way you receive it, it's like they blow it into your nose, and it's very painful. It's like incredibly, it's like incredibly painful when it goes in. You're like, oh, like, you know. And but after that experience, I just started blasting light language, and I'm like screaming it, like, ah! Like, it was so wild, the experience, because I was just surrendering to the medicine, and I could see everybody stop. But for me in that moment, it was a lesson to like allow myself to express no matter what anyone thinks, and just to let myself out, just like put it out there and just like be it, you know, just like express it, you know, and just put it out, you know, which is powerful. So then after that weekend, there was one other plant medicine, which was actually a frog medicine. Is 5-MAO DMT, if anybody knows what that is. That was also ingested with a shaman, and that was powerful ceremony. That one, I'll be honest, like, y'all got to check in with yourself before you experience that one. That one, you just go straight to God. Like, it was just like, I just took off, and you're like, it's like you're put down. You're like, woo. And I've actually, I remember, I think it was like episode 2 or 3, I had a shaman that I talked to about that specific medicine, because it's very, very, very powerful. And when you come home, when I say come home, come back to your body, you are no longer the same person. You're just not. You now have more availability within yourself to be anyone that you want to be, with the understanding, again, like, plant medicines are catalysts for spiritual awakening. Be mindful, be careful with the use of them. If you feel that you are like trying to run from something, you cannot run from that thing, meaning like run from a depression or an anxiety. You're going to get every ounce of it in the moment. Like, you're going to have to feel every single ounce of that angst or depression or whatever that thing is. So just be mindful about plant medicines. They are incredible. I've had incredible experiences. I've had some wild experiences to be shared at another time. I will absolutely share those. I actually did share those with the episode with Lindsay Bell, which It was a pretty wild experience with Bufo. I have definitely had some incredible experiences. I've had some very powerfully vulnerable experiences. And so again, just step into those with discernment. Have discernment. Know who your shaman is. Know who the guides are. Set and setting are everything. If the container is not strong energetically, you will open up portals and invite spirits in that are not welcome. It's sort of like having a house party and then just dudes from up the street show up and you're like, dude, like, we didn't invite you. You're not really welcome. They're like, we're here, right? So it's the best way to describe when an entity shows up, and then it's like, what do I do with this? When you start to awaken spiritually, you will have experiences with entities, benevolent, pure, divine archangels. I've had experiences. Actually, I'll tell you this story. Right after that weekend, I was at home. I was doing dishes, and all of a sudden, it was just like Jesus, like whoop, like just popped in. He was actually kind of off to my side. He was like right behind me. It was without a doubt, absolutely Jesus. And it was just like, I was like, what? Like, and he just popped in, and I was like, what's up, man? And he was like, and he just like, my experience with Jesus was wild. It was just like, what's up, bro? Like almost like are you a bro? Like, are you like what? But the love, man, like I cannot even describe the amount of love, like the amount of divine love that this energy carried. The vibration of Jesus was so beautiful, so pure, so divine. And it was clearly Jesus. Like it was like it was undeniable. Like it was just like that was it. And I'm like, what? Like what are you doing? He just popped in, man, and he just like was there. And he just wanted to make himself known that like he's always with me. And I was like, it was wild because I grew up in a faith that did not follow Jesus. And ever since I had this spiritual awakening, it was just like, oh, dude, like I see it, like one of the leaders. So I've done a lot of work with Jesus now, a lot of work with other benevolent entities, archangels, with Mother Gaia, with the sun god Ra actually came through one time. Trying to think of other energies that I've experienced along the path. I mean, every archangel, especially Archangel Michael, has come through. He's often coming through. Isis, had worked with Isis in the past. Hathor, and trying to think of other benevolent. My spirit guides. They're like poking in. They're like, "Hey, we're here." Everybody has a guide or a set of guides. You will find that out. You'll figure out who they are. You'll start to experience their voice, their tone, their vibration within you. Because as you start to awaken yourself spiritually, you'll start to be able to like experience them viscerally as you go. And then you'll start to emit. And the other thing with like a spiritual awakening, and this is like kind of the fun part, you'll start to emit like more light in your life. And you will actually, it sounds weird, but you'll actually start to trigger people because of it. And when you start to emit more light, you will shine on others where they feel inadequate, and that will make them very irritated. So one of the things with a spiritual awakening, this is one of those like, there's the good and the bad. The good and the bad part is you'll like the people that no longer serve you in your life will have to go away. The things that no longer serve you in your life will have to go away. And you will emit a light, a light that's so pure and so loving that like people will like they'll like don't even know what to do with it at times, and they'll think that you're being hubris. They'll think that you're like sort of better than thou, and they'll be like, who the fuck is this guy? A couple things about spiritual awakening, it's like it makes you become more in integrity with truth, and your love is real, but it doesn't mean you're a pushover. So like there's this idea, this like sort of false thought that like, oh, when I become like enlightened and awakened, that all things are love. And like, yeah, you are absolutely going to love all things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be a pushover. You're going to actually have stronger boundaries, and you're going to not put up with shit anymore. And you kind of become more of a motherfucker, like in a really positive way. Like you just don't give a fuck. I say that with love because it's like, you just like you kind of become more discerning, more direct, more confident, because you know what is truth and what is not truth. And you know if somebody's bullshitting you and someone's not bullshitting you. And you just don't put up with shit anymore. You know the power of vibration. You know the power of word. You know what these energies can portray. Like you won't put up with your lovers, your significant others, bullshit anymore. And you'll just be like, that's your shit. Like, you know that that's your shit because you've already gone through it. And it doesn't mean that you're absolved, because you still must take responsibility for your own internal workings. But being in the path of a spiritual awakening means that you are taking responsibility for your inner world. And if you want to experience more beauty and joy and love and bliss and enlightenment, like you have to take responsibility. Like that's first and foremost. You cannot go on the path without taking responsibility. And so again, as you go, like you start to see these things, and things will start to go away. The ugly part of a spiritual awakening is, again, like you might get verbally attacked. You might like experience new things that are like will come to you, and you're like, why? Like my life is completely falling apart. What the hell is going on? Like, but everything, trust, this is really important. Everything is for you. It is for you. It is for you. There is nothing in your life that is happening that is happening to you. It is all there by design so as to shed old skins, old layers, old processes, patterns, parts of your psyche, all those little parts of you that no longer serve the greater good of all mankind, of all the whole collective of the cosmos. You now are a child of the cosmos. You become that because you start to expand yourself on a greater level. Another wild part about a spiritual awakening, and a lot of people, and I did have this fear, and this fear did become a reality, which is, if I open myself up spiritually, will I be attacked spiritually? And the answer to that question for me was yes. I was attacked spiritually, which is wild. A lot of people are a little like, in the beginning, they're kind of afraid of ghosts. But what I'm describing is that like, we're in a third dimension, right? So we have like, up, down, left, right, and then depth, forward, back. And then you go above that, there's the fourth dimension, which is considered time from the third dimension. And then like the fifth dimension is above that. So it kind of sees all things as they are. And so our experience of time, which is like the third dimension moving through sort of like a matrix, is our experience through the fourth dimension. And then again, the fifth dimension, where we are ascending to, quote unquote, is the understanding that all things are one. Like we can see all things in the third dimension. And then there's sixth, seventh, eighth, etc. Everything. This is what I was describing earlier. The fifth dimension, fourth, third, second. If I have a shadow, I don't know if I can kind of take a light, but I can take a third dimensional object and I can create a shadow behind me. I'm going to use my light really quick. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can kind of see it. I don't know if you can see this light. I can't really make a shadow, but there's not a really good example of this. Let me put that light down, but you get the idea. I can take a light and I can create a shadow experience behind me. And then that shadow experience of a third dimension is a two-dimensional object. And then that morphs and that changes. And so the upper dimensions are literally like the reflection of the central sun. The reflection of the divine light is going through the upper echelon, the upper dimensions, creating the effect of the third dimension. If this is too much to handle, don't worry about it. Don't even like get your brain wrapped on it, but just know that we are a reflection. This third dimension, we think we're physical, we think we're objective. We're not. We are literally a reflection of another dimension that's happening like through that dimension. So we're actually happening on multiple dimensions across like forward, back, like in all time. So here's the cool thing is like you are linked into this now dimension. So you're hearing me in this now dimension, and you're also happening in all time. It's wild to think about. You don't have to like understand all this to just appreciate it, but just know that things like this are going on, right? I'm getting the tune. I just got a loud ring in my ears saying that this is important. Okay, so let me actually go back and touch on this. Again, this is like one of those things about spiritual awakening that you'll start to see, like you'll just start to get intuitive nudges, like you got to talk on this. It's like, okay, I'll talk on this. So more specifically, we are becoming more aware of the upper dimensions in a spiritual awakening. We become more aware of upper dimensions, just like there's like good dudes and bad dudes in the third dimension. There's light beings, and then there's, I won't say dark beings, but there's like beings that don't necessarily have a place in the other dimensions and the higher dimensions. And then those energies, when a portal is open, can latch on to you, and they can try to suck on to your energy because it's sort of like a parasitic energy. They're looking for some form of life force, and that is a sort of a spiritual parasite. A lot of people call these demons or entities or these things or darkness. It's really not. They're just, it's sort of like, yeah, like having a squatter, like a spiritual squatter. They can be kind of scary at times. I mean, they can be like pretty frightening. The one specifically that I can recall was shortly after my experience of my absolute, like, it was like a weekend awakening, like boom, like I was this person, now I'm this person. It was complete change. There was like a whole thing with my wife and I. She didn't understand me. Again, there's good, bad, and ugly. Like my wife was like, "Who are you? I don't even know who you are. Like, this is weird. This is like total change. Like, you're crazy." But anyway, like fast forwarding, it was like July. I don't know why July 7th just like really popped in my head. So it was July 7th, and I do remember it was like 2 weeks after, because it was June like 21st, and it was a couple weeks after that. And I was laying in bed at my in-laws' house, and all of a sudden it was like this, like I could just see it in my third eye. It wasn't, again, these things are not physical, but I could see it, and it was on me, and it was like this, the character Venom from Spider-Man, and it looked like that. It was just like, and I was like, whoa, I surrender. But the thing is, and this is really important, and I want to give you this to walk forward with, you have absolute command. You as an individual have absolute command of your own spirit, of your own vibration, of who you truly are, of everything around you, so that you can create protections. So in the moment, I didn't know that. I didn't set up protections for myself, so energies could sort of latch onto me, but I was so attuned to energy that I could like feel a lot of this energy. And when I experienced that, I was like, I surrender. Like, I allowed that energy to be whatever it needed to be in the moment, because I knew I could meet it. I could match it with light, with love, with pure like Christ energy. And I could send energy back into it of pure divine light and love, and then it would alchemize. Now that takes a lot of fucking courage, I'll be honest. It takes a lot of courage to just match it. But nothing physically is actually happening. It's all just energetic. So what I did in the moment, I surrendered. And then it was later, and I will say this, like, I didn't have that protocol down right away. So I was a bit of an asshole for a minute, because it was sort of latched onto me. It like sort of left like a sentinel on me. And so I had to do some work around it to clear my energy field and clean it up. And I did. I had those protocols down. So everything from like breath work, just moving energy. I'll use Hape or Rape as an example. I'll use that to clear any energies. I'll go to energy workers. I'll do breath work. I'll use other plant medicines. There's a lot of different ways for me to clear energy. Even ice baths. That's one of the reasons I love ice baths. It just gets me into my body, and it allows me to clear my energy field. Salt baths, getting on the earth, just doing a lot of just basic fundamental practices helps clear. And I was able to then finally clear that. And then I was able to like, just, okay, that's not mine. I let go. And I was able to go through that. Sometimes you will have to go through like a full-blown exorcism. And this is one of those parts of the spiritual path that a lot of people like don't really talk about, but this is like a real part, which is like you'll get these like sort of these parasitic energies that are stuck on you. And if you are working with an energy worker, they know where things are and they can intuitively call that thing forward, and then they can help support and guide it back to light, because that's all it wants to do. It just like needs to just get dissipated back to light. And then they can close up that portal. It's absolutely happened to me. I've had things that would sort of leech on me and just jump on me. And now I know exactly what I need to do. I'm always divinely protected. I always create the intention that I am divinely protected, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all planes, all dimensions, at all times. And that is my divine prayer. And I'm sort of like constantly reminding myself of this. So that includes like, if I'm driving down the road, like police officers don't, like, it's almost like I have a shield around me that like, even if I'm going a little bit too fast, they like, nothing to worry about here. Like I'm supported. I'm always guided, whatever that thing is. I'm always in the right place at the right time for the right reason. I'm always divinely supported, right? So like there's statements that will come through for you that will be perfect. As you go through your spiritual path, I highly recommend teachers. I highly recommend others on their path, and you will find that you'll be linked up to people that are like perfect for you in the moment. Everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. Everything is a lesson. I'm just going to say that. What that means is that everything on your spiritual path is there for you, to teach you, to help you alchemize something, all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you are on your spiritual path and your business falls apart, perfect. It's awesome. I'm like really happy for you, because you're going to recognize that like you were on the wrong path. Maybe you were meant to be a musician. Maybe you were meant to be an author. Whatever that thing is, like you were meant for something different, and like you need to support that. So, here are the things that I recommend. Definitely settle into very specific practices, like have fundamentals, breath work, meditation, just being easy with yourself, allow for whatever happens, whatever needs to happen, and give yourself the space, genuinely. Yeah. Give yourself the space to support yourself, because when you do, what you're going to do is like, you're going to see that it's going to be challenging at times, but it's not going to be impossible. In fact, it's not only not impossible, it's actually so possible that it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect the way it needed to be. And as you go through your path, like, you'll find that like, oh my God, like even this conversation was exactly what you needed in that moment. And it's kind of fun. It's actually a lot of fun. You'll get like signs, and you can ask, your spirit guides to speak to you in a language that you understand, so that you can discern their energies and their messages. It's a lot of fun. And you'll get a lot of really cool experiences along the path. You'll become more easy. You become more settled, more peaceful. But there will absolutely be times of complete unease, complete unsettling, complete disaster. Everything will feel like it's falling apart. But again, in the moment, it's literally there so that you can witness and experience whatever you need to. So that like, if you're like calling for gratitude, for instance, you're going to have to know what being broke, what being broken, what being like just feeling like you have nothing, and being grateful for that, so that you can alchemize all of it, so that when it does come, you're going to actually feel so much gratitude. Like I'm on the other side of it now, and I feel so much gratitude for every, like, even like it's random, but like I bought batteries the other day. I was just so fucking grateful that I had the money to buy batteries, because there was one point in my life that I didn't. Like, you know how like crazy that is? Like I remember there was one time in my life that I went to the grocery store and I didn't have enough money to check out. That was one of, I would say either one of, if not the most embarrassing moments of my life. I was there with my son. He was really little. And I went to check out. I just didn't have enough. And I was like, oh, we gotta take some things off. And I remember thinking like, I'm a fucking loser. Like, holy fuck. But again, it was there perfectly for me. to support me so that I would understand what knowing, like to bring gratitude to that, to know what it feels like now to like, oh, wow. Like that's really special to like, to eat, to have my belly full, to feel, to relax, to know that everything is always taken care of. And it's like, it's really special. It's really special. So again, the spiritual awakening is not for the faint of heart. It's a beautiful process. It's very real. We all crave it. We're all seeking it. It's, I keep saying it's not easy. It's simple. Cause it's not, it's like, it's not easy. It's like, you're going to get dragged through the mud and like, but it's there for you. Like you might break a leg, you might get sued, you might something, I don't know, something's going to happen for you. It's going to happen for you. And it's going to be there to like surrender that which you think you are to become more of that who you are. And it's going to be beautiful as it needs to be. So, if you have questions, comment below. If you found this to be helpful, please share this. Please like, please subscribe to get more of these, to be the first to know. If you have questions, put them in the comments. So I'd be happy to answer them. I know this conversation very much is one of those that's like, not a lot of people are talking about, but I mean, there's a couple people, but you know, it's like, how do I have a spiritual awakening and still be like a dad, still be a businessman, and still be like, dude, I'm like running this company and like, I can't be going through this now. Like I got to hold on. It's like, no, man, you got to let go. But again, it doesn't mean that like you have to let go of everything, but like you have to be willing to let go of it all. That's the key. That's the key. So, I wish you Godspeed. I know everything that's going to happen for you is going to be perfect and divine and beautiful as it needs to be as things start to come through. If you feel like you're going crazy, you're not. In fact, there's a book out there. I think it's called "You're Not Going Crazy. You're Just Waking Up." That's a real one. So check that one out. It's good. And yeah, if you really want to deep dive into some of this stuff, check out the Unbreakable Man experience, November 1st through the 3rd. My intention with that is not so much very like the spirituality side of it, but that's a huge component, right? Because like ultimately everything is spiritual. But it's really there to guide you through the path of like creating clarity in your life. Like, what do you want? Like, how do you know what you actually want? Helping you identify more clearly, like, and tune into yourself. We're going to be going through very specific meditations, these things, doing deep breath work. I'm talking breath work that's like, it's like a plant medicine journey. I'll be honest. It's like completely transformative. I've had guys that have had experiences with Jesus during that breathwork process. I've had experiences with their past loved ones, all this stuff. So there's a lot of really, really beautiful experiences in that. It's very physically demanding, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You will be challenged. You'll be challenged, but it will be one of the greatest weekends of your life. And again, I can't guarantee any results, but I absolutely know it. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I've seen it. I've done it. It's really funny. Like, when you go through this spiritual awakening, like, people think that you're being hubris, but you're just like, nope, that's it. I know it. Like, it's like a known, like, done. And so that's kind of the fun part. So, I think, you'll get a ton out of it. So, go to theunbreakableman.com, apply for that one. You'll get a bunch out of it. What else is there? Check out iTunes. If you listen to this on iTunes, please give us a 5-star review if you found value in this. It helps more people find us on the algorithm. Share this content if you're on YouTube. Because just get this information out there. I think more people need this information, like genuine, like, boots on ground information to be a more functional human, a better man in this society. So that you guys have the wisdom and the insights. So I love you guys. Big love. I can feel the love in this one. So love you very much. I'll see you guys in the next episode.